Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Knicks Film School Post-Game Show. No, I am not Jonathan Macri. It's your boy, GMAC, also known as Andrew Claudio, on my birth certificate, filling in for the Mac Man on Valentine's Day. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to all the couples out there, all the single people out there, too. You know, you're probably going through a season right now where you're dating the Knicks or just figuring yourself out. Believe me, the Knicks could probably use somebody to keep them warm at night right now, as injured as they are. So happy Valentine's Day to all the couples out there. I'll say that. And of course, my wife, who we were celebrating on Friday, and she had to endure me watching this basketball game tonight. But so I'll just get that out the way now. To those of you that are tuning in on what is supposed to be a holiday, I appreciate you doing so. This is also the first game, the last game, I should say, before the Knicks head into the All-Star break. And my God, did they need this All-Star break badly. 118-100 is the final down in Orlando, MSG Disney, as I'll call it. The Knicks are fifth in the Eastern Conference. You could say they've fallen to fifth. It feels like it was just 2 weeks ago that they were a half game out of the 2 seed. And it's because it was just 2 weeks ago that they were a half game out of the 2 seed. They've lost 5 of 6, and it would seem as if this would be a bit of a venting session, and you wonder if the deadline moves were failures and if the sky is falling. Let's start here. I need everybody to follow my lead here, okay? Because I will take you through this therapy session. Let's start here. Inhale, exhale, and then just repeat doing that. There are a lot of basketball players that have been in the Knicks rotation for the last 2 weeks, we'll say, that will not be in the rotation when things matter. Jericho Sims, love you. Great depth piece, great third center. You see how far away the rim protection goes when he's your starting center, or just really the majority of the time center. Deuce McBride, I actually have liked his minutes here and there. I think he's a depth piece too. He's a good 10th man. And a guy that can step up in a pinch. Maybe even at times your 9th man, depending on who's there to play. I liken him to the Frank Ntilikina role. Just he has more offensive ability than Ntilikina. Probably won't be in this rotation come playoff time. I will say the Precious Achiuwa conversation is getting interesting because he has just continued to look outstanding over the last 2 weeks, really since he's been asked to play 40-plus minutes a game. But, we'll see how that develops. And then Taj Gibson played 9 minutes tonight, has played a lot of minutes since signing another 10-day with the Knicks. I think he's the Udonis Haslem. And if you'll note how very few minutes the Heat used to play Udonis Haslem, and anytime the Knicks would play the Heat and he found minutes just because the Heat were injured, I just look at the jump shot and see like bunnies that he was coming up short on, and just you'd recognize, oh, this is what a 15th man that's more of a veteran presence and to establish culture looks like. So all of these different guys, Jacob Toppin, I hope we could put the Westchester box scores to bed and being like, why don't you play him? That's not an NBA player yet, okay? Taj Gibson's not an NBA player anymore. Jacob Toppin's not an NBA player yet. And all of that being said, the Knicks are still the 5 seed. If I told you before this season that the Knicks would be 33-22 going into the All-Star break, the 5 seed with especially if I told you all the injuries they were going to sustain. Now, I would have to be a crazy fortune teller to also add, oh yeah, and they traded RJ and Quentin Grimes and quickly for OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks, right? Obviously, there's some context missing here, but they're not in the worst place possible. They need to get their guys back. We have 8 days where all they're going to do is rest. Anybody that's been worried about minutes, worried about Tibbs injuring your favorite player, or just worried about injuring a player on the team, or just, how about this, playing basketball and them catching injuries, you got 8 days where you don't have to worry about that. They're not going to play another game until Thursday. Your biggest worry is Jalen Brunson getting hurt in the All-Star game, which I don't think that's a big worry. That's a scrimmage, or the 3-point contest. Again, these are festivities we're talking about. We should look at, as the whole, The Knicks are 5 games back, have a somewhat of a mid-easy schedule. They do have some tough games. They do have 3 games with Detroit the rest of the year, 2 of which are at the Garden. They have some games against Philly, all of which will probably be without Joel Embiid. And I'm expecting Bogdanović to be back after the break. I'm expecting Hartenstein to be back after the break. I'm expecting DiVincenzo to be back after the break. I think if they have all 3 of those guys back, I think they win both games this week. And on the other side of the break, I think they beat Philly if they get all 3 of those guys back on the other side of the break. So, again, this has been a frustrating week. These last 6 games have been equally as frustrating. If you want my thoughts on this game, I'll give you 2 positives and 2 negatives. We'll start with Jalen Brunson just being awesome. That first quarter, I was wondering if we were headed for some history. Finishes the game. He had 20 points in the first quarter, finishes the game with 33 points on 21 shots. And it's really funny because I was wondering what Tibbs was going to do in the second quarter. I was almost worried that, he's going to play him 48 minutes because he doesn't have enough offensive punch. And then he puts in the Alec Burks, Deuce McBride backcourt for the second quarter. The problem is it also coincided with Jacob Toppin and Taj Gibson in the game as well. And like I said, we're talking about a guy who's not an NBA player yet and a guy that isn't an NBA player anymore. The Magic went on a 17-0 run to completely erase a 12-point lead that the Knicks have built. And Brunson came back in 4 minutes into the second quarter. And then Paolo Banchero it's funny. I've joined in the impact metric crowd about how Paolo's not deserving of being an all-star, and he made me look silly tonight. That looked like an all-star. There's a jersey over my right shoulder with the number 7 and the name Anthony on it. That was Melo reminiscent. The fact my favorite Melo game, I think, is the 50-point game he had in Miami, where he didn't take any free throws and it was all jump shots. Paolo Banchero tonight, 36 points, 15 of 20, and 6 of 10 from 3, to go along with 7 rebounds and 5 assists. That looked like an all-star to me, so I'll gladly eat some crow. But Brunson at least brought his end of the bargain in looking like an all-star tonight. And then again, this Precious Achiuwa performances that we're seeing. Benji's Knicks film thread today was all about Precious and how some of his limitations on offense clearly show his inability to really make you pay on defense as a 3-point shooter and as a spacer. Teams are just leaving him alone, which really crowds the paint. However, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 10 of them offensive, and 5 assists tonight. I'm curious to see what they do on the other side of the break. I know they're not going to have Mitch back anytime soon. Precious would be my backup 5. I've kind of liked him at the 4, though. I wonder what happens when. I'm curious to see what happens. He's clearly still in the rotation for the foreseeable future as either the backup 5 or, maybe he plays some minutes at the 4 while they're still getting healthy in the backup unit. So, but good job by Precious Achiuwa tonight. Played 43 minutes. He's just playing 40 minutes consistently. It's actually insane. The 2 negatives. So let's talk about Alec Burks. Since rejoining the Knicks, a move I was in favor of, a move I still think is going to work out long term, he has not looked great. And shout out to Nikias Duncan of the Dunker Spot, who went on Fred Katz's pod this week, Katz and Shoot. I wonder if you've heard of it, if you've watched our content or listened to our content lately. And he described Alec Burks' first couple games with the Knicks as, y'all know why I'm here. And he's very much, he understands the assignment. He knows I'm here to get buckets. I have a green light. He shot 5 of 16 tonight, 2 of 6 from 3 for 13 points. He did not have a good game. I am not in favor of 30 starting minutes for Alec Burks. I don't think he's going to play 30 starting minutes. I'm in favor of him in the right rotation when Anunoby's back, when Josh Hart is back, when Boyan is back, and when Brunson is back. Like, there are lineups where they can prioritize shooting and don't have to concede the defense so much when that will feature Alec Burks. In these first 3 games has just not been a great sample so far. I think we need to give it more than 3 games for sure. But look, I'd like to see what he looks like when he has any hint of rim protection behind him, because I do think he's looked pretty poor on defense. I would like to see what he looks like in offense, where he has some dependable pick and roll partners as well. Because there will be games where it's like, oh my gosh, Alec Burks had 27 points off the bench tonight. Where did that happen? But he was pretty bad tonight. And the other negative, it's funny. I thought Josh Hart's defense was average, but it was also like the bad was really bad. Like there were some closeouts that he missed. I think the way the Knicks guarded Paolo tonight, he was hitting everything, so it's tough. I thought they went under screens a little too often. I also think Paolo was making them pay on the dribble because it was just get by the first line of defense, and the lane is wide open because the Knicks didn't have a true rim protector in the game, or at least a one that needs to retire. There's no real takeaways you can have from this game, to be completely honest. And I'm sure there are people upset in the super chats. I'm positive, and I'm here to be your venting sesh. Okay, get out whatever, if any frustrations you want, fire whoever you want, trade whoever you want, bench whoever you want. I'm here to hear it all. I would just ask that you recognize the team's still 33-22. Every national pundit thinks highly of the healthy version of this team. You know, a guy we all respect, Zach Lowe, said, I expect the Knicks to still be in the race for the 2 or 3 seed, and they're the team that I think will give Boston the best fight. Brian Windhorst echoed the same sentiment. Bill Simmons echoed the same sentiment. A lot of people that we trust in this industry that follow X's and O's and pay attention to the narratives are like, the healthy version of this Knicks team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And the infamous line about a team that I never know if it's a compliment or not, it's nobody wants to play this team. Well, I mean, look, this version of the team, I'm sure you want to play them. They had like 4 NBA players on the team tonight. But I would ask you to exercise some patience. Okay? We've waited a long time for a team with the potential ceiling like this. And like I said, for those who turned into the pregame pod today, the guy who joined me, Dante Marchitelli, who works for Bally Sports Florida, he said, if you missed it, I'm just really excited about what the ceiling is of your basketball team. And I was like, I'd love to eventually see what that team looks like, that fun version that everybody keeps describing. I think we just have to wait a little longer. Thankfully, we have 8 days where nobody's going to get any overuse. No one's going to play more than 40 minutes. Nobody's going to run into Jaime Jaquez Jr. and a dirty shot attempt. Nobody's bone spurs are going to develop in their elbow. Okay? Nobody's going to trip over someone and re-injure their Achilles. Everybody's just going to rest, hopefully. Okay? I'm sure the tickets to Cancun are already being booked for a lot of these guys, or Aruba, or wherever. Okay? And I hope all of you, because I know I definitely need it, take a much-needed break. If you want, I'll go through. If you want to send in super chats that are about recommendations for break, you can. I got movie recommendations for you. I got TV recommendations for you. Baseball started today, kind of. Pitchers and catchers reported. But I would ask that, as frustrated as we are with losing 5 of 6, we keep it somewhat big picture about this team. There is a really good basketball team with a very high ceiling. We saw it in January. When they get that version back healthy, this season will once again be fun. I'm very confident in saying that. And with that, let's get to the super chats. I appreciate everybody joining me. I know, again, happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you that tuned in on Valentine's Day after a very annoying Knicks loss, to hear me talk about that said annoying Knicks loss. And let's see what everybody has to say one more time about said annoying Knicks loss. We start with Mythic Monty. Oh, man. Burks is not a point guard. Front office didn't learn this lesson the last time. Have questions about the second unit, even if we are fully healthy going forward. So I don't think Deuce is a point guard either. I think he's a basketball player. I think when they've run the offense through him, it hasn't looked great either. What I will say, Burks has not looked good, so I can't like put down your frustrations here, Mythic Monty. The thing I would say is I personally want to see what this second unit looks like when he's next to OG Anunoby, when he's next to Bojan Bogdanovic and Josh Hart, when they go to their full complement of guys. I want to see what that looks like. The early returns are not great. I don't disagree with you. It's too early to fully dismiss this move. That's just where I am. And speaking of dismissing, thank you, Mythic Monster, for the contribution. Alex! Sorry, John. John's not here, but I'll relay the message. Point Burks is basketball terrorism by Tibbs. Man, Alex Burks is a weapon of mass destruction, according to Alex. Was done with that experiment 2 years ago and more done with it now. Let Deuce be the backup. So that's not realistic, unfortunately for you. But again, I want to see what this team looks like healthy. I want to see what they look like in transition when you have multiple ball handlers. I do have questions about, like, this is where I'll echo Benji's sentiments. I do think there's a defensive floor that is new. Like, it's much lower than it used to be. Like, that was the thing about the second unit before the trade that you could appreciate. It was in the 100th percentile in points allowed per 100 possessions, and it was in the 0th percentile in points scored per 100 possessions. So the Knicks weren't losing the lead. They also weren't building the lead at all. And now scoring becomes so much more imperative when you add guys like Burks and Bojan. This is just, I know he hasn't been great the first 3 games. I agree with you, Alex. Boyan's not there tonight. No OG. No Randle. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of mixing and matching on the second unit. I think you'll see Brunson play with Burks at times in the second unit. Again, got to give it more than 3 games is all I ask. If we're in March and it still looks like this, then I'll come to your side more or so. But I appreciate the contribution. And in fact, you got another one. Oh man, post All-Star break rotation needs to be Brunson, Devo, Hart, Precious, Ihart as starters. Okay. With Bojan, Deuce, and Sims as the bench, with Burks only playing as necessary. So we're taking Alec Burks completely out of the rotation already after 3 bad games where they've been shorthanded and haven't had an NBA center. I disagree. I think you got to give it more time. I also think if you have your full complement of players, Burks isn't playing. Like, he played 17 minutes the other night. That was fine. Like, 17 Alec Burks minutes with the right teammates around him is absolutely fine. And look, you're gonna get Deuce in for a while. They're still integrating everybody into the new system. I've seen way too many Alec Burks heat checks this season. I get it. It was with the Pistons, but again, like, he's here to play with better basketball players. So when those heat checks happen, you could also build on them. So thank you, Alex, for the contribution, the multiple contributions tonight. Colin Reardon, even with injuries, 1-5 is unfucking acceptable. Good God. Well, he says GG. So I don't know if it's good God, goodness gracious, good game, great googly moogly. They don't have, I don't think they played any of these 6 games with more than 6 players that will be in their playoff rotation. One of the losses didn't have Jalen Brunson. One of the losses didn't have 4 of the losses didn't have Hartenstein. One of the losses didn't have DiVincenzo, and one of the losses didn't have Bojan. And one of the losses being held under protest. They're not going to win said protest, but context matters. I'm frustrated too. I never like watching my basketball team lose. I hear you, Colin. Context matters. Like, the Warriors won the championship 2 years ago and had a 7-game losing streak after they lost Steph Curry. That happened that season. Like, context matters. If they were 1-5 in their last 6 and had everybody back, we'd be having a much different tone here tonight. You got to think about the big picture. 1-5 is frustrating, it's a little bit easier to accept when you understand the context. Thank you, Colin. Mr. Cappuccini. John, always appreciate your contributions, but man, he's got two of them. Two silver linings. One, grateful we didn't have this kind of injury bad luck last year. We wouldn't have survived, and there wouldn't have been immaculate vibes coming in this season. We can absorb this. So I'll stay on this. The cool thing about what this new version of the Knicks could potentially be is, like, every regular season game has mattered in the Tibbs era, the first 3 years. And it's been like, enjoy this now because there's no real playoff expectations to have. Like, enjoy these 47 wins like we did last year, right? And now, with how people are talking about this team, with how good I think this team could potentially be in the playoffs, man, like, down to your point, like, the vibes are almost like projected into the future, and we have to work toward them and wait for them. So, like, yeah, we can absorb this, and it's good they went 15-2 after the Anunoby trade, because they built themselves a cushion so that way when these injuries started to happen, they can withstand a 1-5 stretch to end the like again, the context of it all. As I was saying to Colin, they're 15-7 since the Anunoby trade, which all of us would have signed up for that if the day of that Minnesota game. Like, what would you sign up for now going into the break? There's 22 games. I'll take 15-7. So, yeah, I agree. They can absorb this time. Then you've got another one. Number 2, we play Detroit. We play Detroit in 3 games. It's always darkest before the dawn, folks. I think we will be all right. Enjoy the break, everyone. I'll see you guys next week. Dom, good attitude, good perspective. I appreciate you, my man. And I hope you have a good All-Star break. I sincerely mean that. I'm headed down south to some warm weather. I hope, listen, I know you guys probably don't have the ability to go away, or maybe you are, because I know kids are out of school next week. Maybe people are going on vacation. I hope people are doing something fun while the I hope you're doing something fun while the Knicks are not playing next week. Watch some movies, take your significant others out for dinner. Have a game night if you can. Catch up on a show if you can. Do something fun. That is my recommendation. That is Dr. Claudio's recommendation for tonight. Thank you, Dom. Sheldon Gomes, how much is too crazy to match for Achiuwa in the offseason? So what's crazy, Sheldon? I was thinking the exact same thing. This is a Jeremy question, because any answer I give, which is be very half-assed. Like, I don't know like the exact number that the Knicks could be able to afford to avoid going over the tax, or if they want to go over the tax. I believe a qualifying offer should be offered, because even if he turns it down, they can turn it into a trade exception. Again, Jeremy will correct me in the future if I'm right or wrong about that. It's a thought I had, Sheldon, that maybe they could turn it, whatever offer he gets, into a sign and trade. And look, if a big superstar trade happens this offseason and the Knicks are in need of bodies, we now know they have a depth piece in Precious Achiuwa that can play rotation minutes. Like, I'm intrigued by what this has become. I know a lot of Raptors fans that, like, I'll be aware, you're gonna have moments of Precious where they're gonna be nice. We're past moments. We're at the point of, like, no, this is like 9 or 10 games where I'm like wanting him on the floor at the most important minutes. What he was on defense on Monday night in the great Houston robbery. That was like Alex said it on Monday in the post game. Like, the most annoying part about the phantom foul was it completely erased Precious Achiuwa's defense on the play, that he swatted the ball out, which led to the Holiday heave. And then tonight, like, 10 offensive rebounds tonight. This is what we loved from Mitchell Robinson. So, yeah, I have no idea what the number is, Sheldon. I'm intrigued by continuing this relationship further than this year. I'll say that. Thank you, Sheldon, for the contribution. Hush Zoo or Hush Z. What are we calling you now, by the way? Hit me up in the chat. It was a great career, Taj. It's time to move on. Cannot disagree, Hush. And it's the most frustrating part of all of this is, seeing the Knicks lose, and they go they also have to watch the end of Taj Gibson as it happens. I hope there is a Ryan Arcidiacono. It's not even Archie, because Archie, even when the Knicks were in need of minutes or bodies, he never played. I hope there's a a Udonis Haslem role for Taj on this team, where he's the 15th guy, doesn't play, and finds a way to be like Derrick Rose was last year. You know, I got a soft spot in my heart for Taj Gibson. That first We Here season, he played a lot of really good minutes for the Knicks, and he was part of reestablishing the culture that we've seen. You know, like there's like 6 or 7 people that are responsible for this turnaround, and they all have like a piece of the turnaround pie. You know, Tibbs has a gigantic slice. Leon has a gigantic slice of it. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle have giant slices of it. Then there are these little bites that we give out. The guys that they've traded, RJ Quick, Taj plays a role in that. Derrick Rose plays a role in that. Yeah. So I got a soft spot in my spot for Taj, in my heart for Taj, even if I don't think he needs to play NBA basketball at a competitive level anymore. So thank you, Hush. Kevin Danishevsky, come on, Miami, for once. Thank God break is here. Who's Miami playing at the moment? Miami. So let's go through a scoreboard. So is this net score real? The little brother lost in Boston tonight by 50 points. Who played? Bridges played. Thomas played. Finney. They whole roster played. Tatum played. Jim Brown didn't play. Are you kidding me? I'm with Benji. We need relegation. That's, for those who don't know, the Boston Celtics beat the Brooklyn Nets 136-86 tonight. That is jarring. Okay, I feel better about my night. The Knicks at least had like their D team out there and put up a fight for 3 quarters. Okay, I feel better, somewhat better. I know the Knicks lost 5 of 6, have higher expectations, but at least we're not the Nets. That's the motto of tonight. At least we're not the Nets. Who's Miami playing, Kevin, that I need to pay attention to? Miami is playing. Oh, they played Philly and won. Oh, okay. Thank you, Miami Heat, for your victory tonight. That doesn't scare me at all that they're 30-25 now and hovering around the 6th seed. No, that doesn't scare me. I'm glad they won tonight. They beat the Sixers. The Knicks remain in. Oh, that means, hold on a second. The Knicks are back up to 4th. So I take back everything I said about the 5 seed. If I told you before the season the Knicks would go into the All-Star break as the 4 seed and just 2 games back for the 3 seed and just 3.5 back for the 2 seed, I think we all would have signed up for it. So you got your wish, Kevin. Bit of some other out-of-town scoreboards. Chicago is tied with the Cavs in Cleveland. That's got to be 2 straight losses for Cleveland. Who's playing? Mitchell's playing. Yeah, Cleveland's fully healthy. Interesting. And they only went with an 8-man rotation, too. Okay. Cleveland's now up 3. We're not watching that game. And Indiana is, this is the Siakam return. Indiana is playing Toronto. And Indiana's up 3 with 20 seconds left. Let's check on quickly. And RJ. Geez, RJ again. RJ Barrett, 23 points on 16 shots, 8 rebounds. Good for him. And quickly, 14 on 11 shots. About 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Okay, thank you, Kev, for that out-of-town scoreboard that you helped me look at. Knicks are still the 4 seed. I'll take it. And I'm going to just glance over at the Cleveland game. I'm going to put that on the ESPN Gamecast so I can hope that Chicago helps us out too, because I'd like to stay within like 4 games of Cleveland for 2, if that's okay. Thank you, Kevin. Next up, Charlie Boy the Third. GMAC. I know we have to get healthy, but with every new injury, I can't shake the feeling that we might not ever see this team at 100% this season. Just so frustrating. Watch us lose all of these winnable games. So let's take a step back here, Charlie. Tonight, I don't know how winnable it is when you're missing the 6 guys that the Knicks were winning. We're missing. On Monday, the NBA literally said that the Knicks shouldn't have lost the way they did. So it's frustrating. I agree, but that has nothing to do with who was out. Like, they probably win. Don't get me wrong. I shouldn't say it has nothing to do with who was out, but they had an opportunity to win that game, and then, a former Miami cop stepped in and helped the Knicks lose the game. So I don't fully put that on this stretch. The Indiana game was the first game of Burks and Boyan. Indiana, their offense showed what they were. You're going to need more offensive firepower. And this is, I'm telling you, this is where the Hartenstein injury is the biggest one, Charlie. And that one, I think, is going to be when the Knicks get him back, you'll see the biggest difference. Like, oh my gosh, we have a good center, an NBA center that's the literally number one in defensive VPM this year. So getting him back will help. And look, this is where, Charlie, I'll tell you, look at the reporting. Nobody has said any of these injuries, even Mitchell Robinson, is season ending yet. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about the Knicks in if terms. No one's saying if they get healthy. It's when. The Knicks have made moves to prioritize the when. Okay? There are versions of this team in the past 3 years where, like, okay, go play through it, Hartenstein. Go play through it, DiVincenzo. Like, we need you back because these games matter. They're prioritizing the future. And there's a shift that all of us have to make in recognizing that as much as, like, the ethos and Tibbs and blah, 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 like the every regular season games matter, like all that, it's cool. And I think it's led to the culture that exists now. There is a future that we can look forward to also that is very soon. And it's when these guys come back. I'm telling you, Charlie, it's when. So enjoy the break. We'll get some guys back and we'll play Philly on the other side. Miami without Jimmy, I believe without Jimmy Butler. Let's just double check this. Miami didn't have Jimmy Butler tonight. Yeah, without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier, they beat Philly tonight. If they can do that, the Knicks getting Hartenstein, getting Devo, and getting Bojan Bogdanovic back can go into Philly and win too. So there is a light at the end of this tunnel. I promise you, Charlie. Thank you for the contribution. Sincerely, it's a generous contribution. Thank you for that. There is one exception, though, that may be our fault, Charlie. So next one is Alex. 1-5 since the KFS watch party. Good job, GMAC. Alex, I can always count on you to bring the sunshine to the program and point out the things that coincide with KFS events that have nothing to do with us. Here's what I will say. We made that plan, like we set that date the day before the Anunoby trade. So actually, the Knicks are 15-7 since we made that watch party date. Okay? So you're welcome, Alex. We actually are part of the reason that the Knicks turned around the franchise. I'll count the game that they lost to the Magic, and I'll count the game they lost to the Pacers. Because John and I had lunch at T-Squared on Friday, because the trade was made on a Saturday. That Friday night, it was the 29th, they played the Magic and lost, made the trade at noon the next day, and lost to the Pacers, very shorthanded, right? So add those two. So they're 15-9 since we set that date, Alex. You're welcome, Knicks fans. On behalf of Knicks Film School. Appreciate you, Alex. Just so focused, my man. Thank you for getting us through this, GMAC. Crying emoji. Hey, I'm getting through it too. Believe me, I'm pushing through it too. I do believe everything I'm saying. I'll say this, like I do genuinely believe everything that I'm telling you guys. There's context. There's things to look forward to. There's a healthy version of this team that when it gets back, we might witness something special this year. I'm listening to every single pundit that's telling me, like, oh, the healthy version of the Knicks looks going to be like a difficult team to play. I also watched this team go 15-2 with like pretty good health over that stretch. You know, I've watched what they've turned Precious Achiuwa into. I've watched what starter Isaiah Hartenstein has been. I watched the perfect fit that OG Anunoby was. So thank you, Ja, for the contribution. I hope everybody's getting through it tonight. Armand Bernajaj. We were tweeting at each other during the game. At what point do these minutes injuries sour free agents from signing here? I know beating a dead horse, but just curious. I honestly don't think it matters at all. Josh Hart re-signed here. Dante DiVincenzo signed here. Isaiah Hartenstein signed here. Julius Randle re-signed here. And most importantly, Jalen Brunson signed here. So, I don't know the coach or the player that's been like, oh, I want to go to the Knicks, but they have Tibbs. So I really don't. I genuinely don't think it matters. I think maybe an agent steps in at a certain point. I do think that's part of why Hartenstein went to a minutes limit. Here's my big brain theory that may also have some credence to it because of people I talk to. The reason Tibbs was so much more willing to honor a minutes limit for Hartenstein and less so willing to have a longer leash with Quentin Grimes, look at the representation is all I will say. Now that's that honestly is 60% conjecture. We do know that Tibbs soured on Grimes during the playoffs last year because he wouldn't play through injury. And then Hartenstein came back on a minutes limit and was playing 25 minutes a game when he stretched his Achilles or whatever it was. He injured his Achilles. I know it's cliche to talk about this, but the CAA of it all matters. So Armand, I genuinely don't think that it's going to be oh, well, I would go to the Knicks, but my God, I might go there and, have to play a ton of minutes. I think basketball players like playing basketball. Josh Hart complains about it, but it's mostly in jest. He loves playing for Tibbs. He loves playing for the Knicks. That's one thing I will say. We've heard from the locker room, once during January, it was everybody understands their role. Everybody enjoys playing together. It's a very collectively good group. And then Jaime Jaquez Jr. stepped in, kind of put a cramp in that for a little bit. So, yeah, I know you're mostly saying it in jest. I hope you're saying it in jest. Knicks have done nothing but continue to sign these pieces that contribute in big ways. And, that's with who the head coach has been. So, thank you, Armand. Gabriel Davis, missing IQ and Quentin Grimes defense against second unit guards. Oh, you're not getting that back. This is where OG Anunoby returning will help. And we do have to point out Josh Hart is somewhat also playing out of position. He will help against second unit guards. When they can go to OG and Hart second unit lineups, they'll help against second unit guards. This is where I wondered to Alex's point earlier about keeping Deuce in the rotation. When they do have a point guard they need to stop, is it just going to be put OG on them and see what happens? Or would they try lineups with Deuce and OG and Hart with the second unit? The spacing isn't the best, but I also OG could shoot and Deuce has shown that he can shoot. I think the astronomical numbers that we saw earlier in the year you can't say are necessarily real, but he's shown a little bit more offensive ability than I think we all expected him to have in the past. But yeah, your point about missing IQ and Quentin Grimes' defense against second unit guards is a fair one. I do think there will be better days when they're healthy that they're not completely picked on as they seem to be getting picked on now. So thank you, Gabe. Alex with one more. Plus side, we got 2 more chances this year to blow out Brooklyn. I need to go back to this box score because this is ridiculous. They lost 136-86. The Cavs are up by 1 with 5 seconds left, by the way. So Boston was up 35-15 after 1 quarter. Then in the second quarter, they outscored the Nets 38-17. So that's 68-32 at halftime. Then they outscored them by 10 in the third. Brooklyn was healthy. I don't believe this. This was like a decent team for 20-something games. They should have to give us Mikal Bridges, like, for free. I'm officially on that train. Here, Alex, you're up on screen right now. Alec Burks for Mikal Bridges. We'll figure out this. Jeremy, don't chime in. Let me cook. This is what happens. Okay? I'm allowing this to happen. I'm approving this trade. Cam Thomas, 1 of 9. Jeez. I'm confident that the Knicks will not lose by 50 next Saturday, by the way. I'm doing the post game with XJ that night. I'm confident the Knicks will not lose to the Celtics by 50. How the mighty have fallen. Jesus. Okay. Thank you, Alex. Next up, Jessica. I hope people really appreciate Randle, his talents, and his availability after his absence. Can't wait to see them healthy East champs dark horse. I agree. DJ's been on this a ton, and I co-sign it. I ride with Randle, as the saying goes. Anthony Sixto's got a super chat in here, so I'll wait for him to show up. I think you don't know what you got till it's gone. I will say, Jessica, I'm not disagreeing with you. The bigger loss, or an equally as big loss, has been OG Anunoby. I was curious to see what the team would look like when Randle was out and Anunoby potentially got a bigger role. I was curious to see what they did with just like a 5-out, or, bring Hartenstein in more pick and roll play lineups. And we never got to see it because the moment that Randle went out, days later, like, we never saw a game where it was Randle out and OG in. So, it's both of them. Randle hopefully is being appreciated today, but it's collective. Everybody that they're missing, they're sorely missing at the moment. Like, the last 2 games, I think they win if they have Hartenstein. Maybe not today because of how bad some of these minutes were, just as a team, or just how good or how hot the Orlando Magic were. But, thank you, Jessica, for the contribution. And then one last one. Tibbs minute. This is from Anthony Sixto. Tibbs minutes narrative peeps feasting, but I take this as an abundance of fronts. Okay, let me restart this. In fact, hold on a second. Okay. Tibbs minutes narrative peeps feasting, but I take this as an abundance of front office caution, which signals their eyes are set on bigger goals this year. Weirdly giving me more confidence. # Jeremy will jam again. Take the hint, Anthony. Love you, by the way. Yeah, it's why it was actually weird. Like, Armand was going back and forth with me on Twitter. He was mostly like just screwing around, but like, how is John going to defend Tibbs tonight for that second quarter? And it's like, the alternative is Brunson plays 48 minutes, and none of us would be happy about that. And he was like, yes, 48, play him all 48 minutes. It was like, make up your mind. And again, he was kidding, but like, that, I think, is where reining in, like doing what you can. Like, we're not going to send you back to Tibbs unless you can play a Tibbs workload. And that's why I don't think Boyan played tonight. It's absolutely why Hartenstein hasn't played the past couple games. And it's absolutely why DiVincenzo didn't play tonight. I will say, Jalen Brunson didn't play the final 7 minutes and 20 seconds in this game, which I thought like showed growth. Like, Tibbs actually punted the fourth quarter of the game. He read the room the way we did. I was stunned that he actually decided, you know what? There's 7 minutes left. We're time to punt this one. And I just, wow. 1, 2, 3. Tibbs doesn't go to Cancun, right? I couldn't see that. There's no 1, 2, 3 Cancun for Tibbs. It's like 1, 2, 3 New Hampshire, or Vermont. Like, he's going to a log cabin to watch game tape on a VCR. Like, that's the Tom Thibodeau All-Star break, right? That's how I imagine it, So, thank you, Anthony, for your contribution. And yes, better days are ahead. Bigger goals are there for us this season. So, I'm going to take 2 questions from the regular chat. So you don't have to send in a super chat. And give me 2 questions. Random questions. They could be about the Knicks. They could be about baseball. They can be about movies. They can be about me if you want. Any random 2 questions. We're at 46 minutes. I want to try and get to at least 50 so we have like a full thing. Okay. Anybody throwing questions? Again, we'll give you just a quick out of town. What was the final score of that Cavs game? The Cavs ended up winning 108-105. The Pacers ended up winning 127-125. Again, I said so Miami won. Charlotte beat the brakes off of Atlanta tonight. Charlotte, since that trade, is like 2-0. So the first question I'll answer is from Ben Kim Gervey. This actually is somewhat of a sad answer. He asks, it's Valentine's Day. What's a friggin' newlywed doing hosting a friggin' show? So the plan that we made, because I make the schedule like close to a month in advance, was that John would spend the night with his wife. And originally we were going to do a playback tonight. And he was like, yeah, sure, it should be fine. We're not going to do anything. The kids are obviously like, Dolores will go to bed early. Then he said, actually, I would actually like that night off. And like, I know we joked around about it at the end of the Fred pod, but like the conversation was like, okay, you take the night off. I'm going to host the post game. It'll be okay. Part of the reason why I say it's a sad thing is that the plan was for my wife to go be with her mother tonight. This is, again, I'm bracing yourselves for the sad. For those who remember from the summer, my father-in-law passed away. So this is my mother-in-law's first Valentine's Day without him. So my wife and my sister-in-law, we're going to go hang out with her over tonight. Unfortunately, she got sick. And with us going to Miami next week, the only thing that they did when she went over to the house was get some Valentine's Day gifts from her. And then she went right to bed. So she ended up coming back to our place in Queens with my sister-in-law. And the three of us watched this Knicks game. Well, really, they hung out while I watched the Knicks game. You know, it's funny. I had like half a page of notes from the first half that I wrote down on one of my legal pads. And then just at a certain point, I was watching Jacob Toppin. It's like, I'm not doing this. Like, there's just no point. I put my feet up. I cracked open a Red Bull. It's like, there's just no point. So that's what I'm doing here, Ben. We are going out. I have a special night planned for her on Friday, actually. We're going out to, I'll tell you guys because she doesn't watch this. So one of our favorite restaurants, I've booked the reservation. Then we're going to a movie. Yeah, we got like a fun night planned on Friday night. So I won't report back. Just wish me luck on Friday night. It'll be a fun time. So Alex Fargo Tufo asks, better show, Community or New Girl? You just mentioned 2 of my blind spots, unfortunately. I have seen episodes of Community, so I'll say Community. I got nothing for you on New Girl. But thank you, Alex. Armand Bernardage, where do you think Snell is going? Armand, thank you for opening that gate. So, for those who don't know, Blake Snell is a pitcher in Major League Baseball. He won the Cy Young Award, which is the award for the best pitcher of the year in the National League. He is still not signed. Baseball players are reporting to their teams right now. He is still not signed. In fact, baseball has like 6 or 7 premier free agents. They're still not signed. And this is the opposite of what baseball has compared to what the NBA has. Like the NBA, there is an urgency. We do a live stream the day of free agency. With baseball, it's just like a slow rollout, right? Like what the hell? The reigning Cy Young Award winner can't find a team going into spring training? What are we doing here? Like, you know what's funny? The year of the strike, or the lockout, whichever it was, 2 years ago, where there was a very clear deadline when Manfred was going to lock out the players, it created an urgency. There was like a deadline. And it's like, this is the first time that baseball's really had this, where I'm tracking player movements and transactions because, you know, there's a deadline to pay attention to. So, yeah, I have no idea where Snell ends up. I thought Chicago for the longest time. I have a hot take. I don't hate what the Mets have done this offseason. I actually think they've created a world where they're going to try and be the Brewers, which the Brewers made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years, so I don't hate it. I would love to throw a 1-year deal at Blake Snell. Like, worst case scenario, he's bad and you don't pitch him. Best case scenario, he has a great year, and if you're good, great. If you're mediocre, you trade him like you did Verlander. I don't know. Like, I think any team could use him if he's down to take a 1-year deal at this point, Armand. So thank you for the question. 2 super chats came in. Look at y'all. Brian Oman, I hear Isaiah Thomas lives in New York City and would love to try and make a comeback. Maybe they should give him a run for 10 to 12 minutes a night to make sure JB doesn't fall victim to the same fate as others. Isaiah Thomas to the Knicks. No, thank you. Thank you for the contribution. Jalen Brunson has 8 days off. He'll be fine. He also has backup options in Deuce McBride and Alec Burks. You know, it's very, like, Jeremy made this point a couple weeks ago that, like, he compared the Knicks to the Colts from a couple years ago, or like a couple years ago, a decade ago, where someone was asking the GM of the Colts, like, well, what happens if Peyton Manning goes down? Like, your backup option needs to be good, right? And the GM answered, Peyton Manning goes down, we're fucked. Like, Brian, I understand what you're saying here. Jalen Brunson goes down, we're fucked. Isaiah Thomas isn't fixing that or saving that, for that matter. I think they have adequate options, especially over these next 8 days. They won't need an adequate option while Brunson is out, while they're not playing basketball games. So thank you. And Kevin with another. Only thing I'm really annoyed about over this stretch is that we didn't get to see the OG JB without Randle. Annoying timing. Other than that, about expected. Yeah, it's the one thing that I was kind of just intrigued by, Kevin. I know this is like a hot hand theory thing where, like, that was the thing they were looking forward to as well. XJ and I have talked about it. Like, XJ has a take that they haven't missed Randle at all. At least not missed him at all. I shouldn't put words into his mouth. But, like, would you rather have Randle back or a second OG Anunoby? Which, again, speaks to the Mikal Bridges of it all. I personally think they would miss Randle a lot more because of the gravity that he brings. I also just, like, I know we get on him for his defensive effort at times. He is a big body that wears down other teams the way a second Anunoby wouldn't. I don't know. I want both back. How's that? That's what I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, is both back. So thank you. Oh, this is actually great. Dirty Dancer, if you could make one guy healthy, who would it be, GMAC? The answer is OG Anunoby, to be completely honest. You know, I was intrigued by what this would look like. If there's one guy healthy right now, it's OG Anunoby, because he helps you on both sides of the ball. You know, probably Hartenstein, to be honest, if I really thought about it, would also be the second best answer, but OG Anunoby would absolutely be my first answer. Okay. One more question, y'all. One more question. Jessica asks what my favorite rock band is. Jessica, if I've disappointed you in the past, you know how very few rock bands I pay attention to, so I don't know if I necessarily have one. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Keanu Ruiz. Feels like that's a play on, like Keanu Reeves, but it's just Keanu Reeves. Okay. GMAC, who would you want to play in the first round? So, I know they're 0-3. I think my answer is still Orlando. But the Knicks have to be fully healthy for that. Because you could put Paolo on, or put OG Anunoby on Paolo. You could put OG on Paolo. Randle has feasted against the Magic this year. Them together creates enough attention that I think you can get around. I'm breaking it down too much. I think the Knicks could outscore the Magic in a 7-game series enough. Like, they could match their defensive intensity and then shut them down offensively enough. Like the Knicks win that in 5. So, Yeah, thank you. By the way, Jessica's mad at me in the chat for dismissing her music questions. No, it's not dismissing. It's that I'm not gonna disappoint you. So I'd rather not disappoint you with my music answers. I'm really not a rock band person. I'm a hip hop guy. So that's the question to ask me. Of course, XJ chimes in with a super chat. GMAC is the GOAT. Where did you get that fire hat, by the way? So you could get this hat or this hat or this hat at the Knicks Film School store, which is at Knicks Film School, SKOOL. Okay? There's a link in the description of this episode. You can go there. We have them in white. Well, this is black. You have them in black. We have them in white. We have them in blue. We have them with a black hat and then a gray bill that is out in my living room. But all these hats, these KFS hats, are available. You should go check them out. Okay. I think that will do it for tonight's show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Greatly appreciate all of you that tuned in on Valentine's Day. Before you get out of here, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about KFS if you can. We'll be back on the other side of the All-Star break. We do have, with post-game shows, I should say, we have stuff coming out over the next week or so. I believe there's a Casual Friday coming out. We have pods already recorded, ready to go for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. My Monday, as of right now, is to record 2 pregame pods that will release on Thursday when they play the Sixers, and then on Saturday when they play the Celtics. And then Tuesday, no one will know where to find me because I'm leaving the state and taking a much-needed break. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the All-Star break. Hopefully you had some fun tonight and got your mind off of an annoying loss. And until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak with you soon. Peace.